Okay, let's dive into one of the most game-changing personal finance books out there, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Now, this book, it's not really about budgeting or clipping coupons. It's about a fundamental, deep-down shift in how you think about earning, saving, and most importantly, growing your money.
And this quote just hits you right from the start, doesn't it? This is the core problem the book really gets into. Have you ever felt that way? You did everything you were supposed to do. You got the education, you landed the good job, but you still feel like you're just stuck on a financial treadmill. Well, it all starts with a simple story.
So the real magic of this book is its central story, Kiyosaki's two dads. You've got his biological father, who he calls his poor dad, and then there was his best friend's father, his rich dad. Now, get this, both men were successful, but their ideas about money were from completely different universes.
Just look at this contrast. It's pretty wild. On one hand, you have poor dad, super smart guy, a PhD, and his whole world revolved around job security. He was famous for saying, the love of money is the root of all evil. Then you've got rich dad. This guy didn't even finish the 8th grade, but his whole focus was on financial freedom. And his take? The lack of money is the root of all evil. These two totally opposite worldviews really set the stage for every single lesson in the book.
Poor dad's way of thinking. Well, that's the path most of us are taught to follow, right? Study hard, get a safe job, climb that corporate ladder. But what Kiyosaki argues is that this very conventional path, it often leads you straight into a trap.
And he calls this trap the rat race. It's a lifestyle that's basically run by two really powerful emotions. First, there's fear. The fear of not being able to pay the bills, which keeps you chained to your 9 to 5. And then there's desire, the want for a nicer car, a bigger house, which makes you spend every penny you earn. It's this emotional loop that keeps people working harder and harder, but never actually getting ahead. And this breaks down exactly how it works. You go to work to get a paycheck. Then you get a raise. Great. But what happens? You increase your spending. This usually leads to taking on some debt, maybe for a new car or a house. That debt then creates this massive fear of losing your job. So what do? You work even harder, and the cycle just keeps repeating. You end up becoming a slave to your own paycheck.
So if that's the trap, how do you get out? Well, this is where we get to the real heart of the book, the great mindset shift. Escaping the rat race isn't about working harder. It's about thinking differently. It takes a complete overhaul of your financial mindset, and it all starts with one huge idea.
This right here, this is the whole ballgame. Most of us trade our time for money, an hour of our life for a certain amount of pay. The wealthy, on the other hand, they build or buy things that make money for them. They don't want to be the engine, they want to own the engine. This pivot from earning actively to having passive income is the ultimate key to getting out of that trap.
This new mindset literally changes the questions you ask yourself. The poor dad mindset says, I can't afford it. And what happens when you say that? Your brain just shuts down. It's a dead end. But rich dad taught Kiyosaki to ask a different question. How can I afford it? That little switch forces your brain to start looking for solutions, to get creative, to find a path forward. It opens up a whole universe of possibilities.
Okay, this mindset shift leads us straight into what is, without a doubt, the most practical and powerful lesson in the entire book, understanding the simple difference between an asset and a liability. If you can get this one thing right, you are on your way. Rich Dad's definition is just so simple, it's genius. An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket, whether you're actively working or not. So think about stuff like a rental property that brings in cash every month, or stocks that pay you dividends, or a business that runs itself. Money is flowing to you.
And on the flip side, of course, you have a liability. It's just as simple. A liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. This is your car payment, your credit card debt, student loans, you name it. The goal is incredibly simple: acquire assets and get rid of liabilities. But this simple idea leads to a really controversial question.
Here it is. For generations, we've all been told that our house is our biggest asset. But if we use Rich Dad's really simple definitions, does the home you live in actually put money in your pocket every month? Let's think about that. This table just lays it out perfectly. When it's your personal home, you have a mortgage payment, property taxes, insurance, maintenance. All of that is money flowing out of your pocket. By this definition, it's a liability. But a rental property? Well, the tenant's rent pays for all those expenses, and if you did it right, there's extra cash flow that goes straight into your pocket. That makes it an asset. It's all about which way the cash is flowing.
All right, so understanding assets and liabilities seems pretty simple in theory. So why doesn't everyone just do it and get rich? Well, the book argues that knowing this stuff, financial literacy, is only half the battle. The real fight is overcoming the obstacles inside our own heads. Kiyosaki points to 5 big psychological hurdles. There's fear, the fear of losing money that keeps you on the sidelines. There's cynicism, which makes you shoot down every opportunity. There's laziness, which often pretends it's just being too busy. There are bad habits, like our spending patterns. And finally, there's arrogance, which is thinking you already know everything. These are the real enemies you have to conquer to build wealth.
So what's the antidote? Taking specific actions. First, mind your own business. That means focusing on building your asset column, not just worrying about your paycheck. Your job pays your bills, but it's your business that's going to make you rich. Next, work to learn, not to earn. This is huge. It's about choosing jobs for the skills you'll gain, not just for the salary. And finally, pay yourself first. This is the critical discipline of putting money towards your assets before you pay anyone else.
To really put all of this into practice, Rich Dad says you need to build up your financial IQ. And it's not just one skill. It's really a mix of 4 different areas of expertise. You need to know accounting so you can read the numbers. You need to understand investing so you can make your money grow. You need to understand markets so you can spot trends and opportunities. And you need to understand the law so you can play the game smart when it comes to taxes and corporations.
Ultimately, what this book does is it presents you with a choice. It's not about whether you were born rich or poor. It's really all about the path you decide to follow, and more importantly, the financial mindset you choose to adopt for yourself.
And I love this because it brilliantly redefines wealth. See, it's not some big dollar amount. It's actually a measure of time. Wealth is simply the number of days you could survive if you stopped working today, funded completely by the income coming from your assets. The goal isn't just to be rich, it's to be financially free.
This final quote just drives the entire point home. Being broke is a temporary situation. It's a condition of your bank account right now. But being poor, that's a mindset. It's a permanent state of limitation and defeat. One is a circumstance you can change. The other is a state of mind you have to change.
So, after all that, it really just comes down to this one question. The principles are simple. Know the difference between an asset and a liability, and then spend your life buying assets. But the journey is all about the choices you make every single day. So after hearing this breakdown, what's going to be your first step? What's the one thing you're going to do to make your money start working for you?